If you could just let us know when that's
Yeah,
ready to go.
that started, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, and a very good morning to this meeting, and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee on the 31st of October 2025. Please note this is a virtual meeting with all members and officers attending via Teams. The public part of the meeting, which includes items 1 to 5, will be live streamed and recorded at the end of the meeting. Can members activate your cameras, please, where possible, to enable you to join by video, and can all attendees mute your microphones when not speaking? Please do not come in during items unless you're invited to do so. If members wish to speak at any point, please use the hands up function in the Teams meeting invite, or if you're unable to use the hands up function, state your name and the item you wish to speak on, and I'll bring you in at the appropriate time. If any members attending lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the committee officer by a separate Teams chat message if possible. And IT support will be available by Mr. McIntosh, who will attend virtually. If it's required, I will take a brief comfort break as we go through the agenda, but I will alert you to that at the appropriate time. So, Michael, could you please take Sedrant via a roll call? Thank you.
Good morning, members. I'll start the roll call. Councillor Sterling.
Present.
Councillor Crossan.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Ewanson.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Gifford.
Present.
Councillor Mason.
Present.
Councillor McWhinney.
Here.
Councillor Menard.
Good morning, present.
And Councillor Cox.
Present.
Thank you, members. Chair, we have 8 members present.
Thank you very much indeed. Colleagues, do you have any declarations of interest or statements of transparency that you wish to make? Councillor Menard, please.
Yes, I have a declaration to make that on item 4, I sit on a committee for a charity, so I'll not take part in this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Menard. Thank you. That takes us then to item 2A, the Public Sector Equality Duty, and I would like you to consider and adopt the following resolution: to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, to advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and those who do not share it, and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic, and persons who do not share it, and where an integrated impact assessment is available, to consider its contents and take those into account when reaching a decision. Can I have an agreement, please?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. That takes us then to the confidential information, and it would be my intention to take item 6 as a confidential item with the public and press excluded. If you don't agree, if you put your hand up, I'll bring you in. Okay, that is agreed. So item 6 will be taken in private. It takes us then to the minute of the meeting of the subcommittee of the 29th of August 2025. Can I ask members, please, if you can confirm that's a correct note of the meeting, and we can approve the minute.
Agreed.
That's agreed. Okay, so that minute is approved. Thank you very much. That takes us then to item 4, the review of civic licensing fees. And in accordance with the corporate charging policy, the civic government licensing fee must be reviewed every 3 years. And we are being asked to initiate a public consultation on the proposed fees for the civic government and miscellaneous licensing to come into effect from 1st of April 2026. I'm pleased to welcome Mrs. Cowie, Lauren Cowie, to introduce the report, please. Lauren, thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair, and good morning, members.
I'm going to leave the meeting. Could somebody tell me when to come back in, please?
Indeed, Councillor Menard, thank you.
As Councillor Sterling has said, it's time to review our civic licensing fees for the next 3 years. The report before you sets out the legislative basis for the collection of fees, which is to make sure that our costs are covered, and also sets out those costs were adjusted to account for hearings that we hold, along with comparisons of the fees across Scotland. There's some changes proposed, but generally, the inflationary increases that we've imposed from year to year have allowed for slightly smaller increases to be applied in the majority of our licensed areas. However, the biggest area for change that is before you for consideration today is in relation to the public entertainment licenses. When we were due to review this back in 2020, lockdown restrictions were in place, and it felt really unfair at that time to review and to put in place fees structures for activities that were actually illegal at the time. And so we decided not to do that, and we have just added inflationary increases over the last few years. However, now is the time for us to review our costs, because our costs have substantially increased, as you can see from the report, and we genuinely want to go out to consult with those applicants to understand what the impact of the increases will be on them. And it's one of the only areas across all of our license types that we actually have a discount for the volunteers and for the charity sector. So what we want to do is to really genuinely go out and engage with them on proposals around how much discount should be afforded to that type of organisation for those community type events. So that's why we're proposing a fixed discount against the fees that we would charge for a commercial event, for example. And we really want to, as I say, understand what the impact of that is going to be on our communities. So we're proposing that we go out to consult over the next few weeks, and that we'll look at the proposals that come back. We'll compare that with the costs, we'll ascertain what the impact of that will be, and then we'll come up with a proposal that we'll take to the committee in December. Happy to try to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cox, you were indicating, sorry about that.
No, and apologies, I missed that, and I looked at all the other ones. I didn't see the public entertainment. So my connection with Banff Castle, we have a public entertainment license, but if this is going out to consultation, we're not making a decision, are we, today? So I'm more than happy to leave the meeting till this matter's dealt with.
Have you got any advice for Councillor Cox, please, Mrs. Cowie?
Are you, apologies, would you like me to get in touch with you outside the meeting rather than giving advice within the meeting itself, or are you happy to have that conversation?
Well, look, just keep things flowing, Chair. I'll just leave and then...
Okay, we'll bring you back in.
Yeah, just for transparency. And
okay, and we'll capture
thanks.
that, Michael, that Councillor Cox has declared an interest in the item, subject to the fact that he is involved with an organisation that holds a public entertainment licence. Is that okay, John?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't read it properly.
Worry,
I thought it was
fine.
what you'd agreed from the minute I hadn't gone on to the next. It's a new item.
No,
But,
no
okay,
problem.
I'll drop out.
Sorry, no
Bye,
problem.
bye.
We'll bring you back in when we've completed.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Cox has also left the meeting. Okay, any questions then for Lauren, please, based on what you've heard and what the information which is in the paper before you? No questions? Comments? Councillor Ewanson, Marion, please.
Just to ask a question in the meeting, the fees for fairgrounds, there's obviously a difference in their income, whether they're there for a day or a week, but I'm assuming that the processing of the application is the same, so the fee is the same.
Yes, absolutely. That's right, Councillor Ewanson. The fee is charged on the work that we do, not based on how long an operator will be operating for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Councillor Gifford. Jim, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to check when the consultation goes out on the discount for charitable groups, etc. Are they going to be given the options of the fixed fee index linked or the percentage fee index linked as part of the discussion? Because obviously what they want to do is the same as every business, is what their costs are likely to be year on year with no surprises pinging up.
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll do in terms of the consultation, because it'll go out for all of our license types, rather than having separate consultations for different license holders. But what we'll make it very clear is that these are the costs, and then for public entertainment. So I think how we'll frame that is that we'll say these are the current charges, these are the costs that we have. what is the impact if we were to move to full cost recovery, and then also the separate questions around what those discounts are. I'm proposing that we look at between 10 to 40% potentially discounts, but I'm happy to hear from people about any other comments that they have. We really genuinely want to hear about what the impact of this is going to be in the community, and so the more that we can get back from members, the better, because I completely appreciate that point in terms of they want to have that knowledge, that consistency, that certainty over what their costs are going to be when they're running this, because we're aware that a lot of costs across the event sector are increasing. And actually, when you look at the costs for lots of the different requirements that there are for holding different types of events, they've all gone up in the last years, which is why we've tried our best not to put it up, but it's just becoming unsustainable for us to not review them.
And I think if that's all included in the covering note in terms of the consultation as you've set it out, I think would be very helpful. I think we really need to be unambiguous and very clear. And I think the way that you've proposed to ask the question is fair, I think, and just sets out exactly what it is that we're asking people to consider. Thank you for that. And it's not, this is what we're going to do, we're asking. So absolutely have to be clear on that. Thank you. No other comments or questions for Lauren? So on that basis then I'll turn to the recommendations. We're being asked to acknowledge that the legislation requires the licensing service to be financially self-sustaining, to consider and comment on the fee proposals contained in Appendix 1 to this report. And I'll take any further comments if you don't feel you've had the opportunity. Agree to a formal consultation on proposed increases to civic and miscellaneous licensing fees, whether there should be a discount for charitable and voluntary organisations for public entertainment licensing, and if so, at what level, from 3rd of November until the 24th of November 2025. So that'd be the period of consultation. And agree that the responses to the consultation exercise be reported back to the subcommittee on the 12th of December 2025 with a view to introducing any changes to the fees from 1st of April 2026. I'll just make one final call for any other comments that you feel you would like to make before we agree the recommendation. And no indication, so people are content with the information in the pack. That's the basis of the consultation, and we will get a report back on the 12th of December. Okay, so that is agreed. Thank you very much indeed, Lauren, for your paper. It's very complex and detailed, so thank you very much for all the work that's gone into that. Okay, that then takes us to item 5 on our agenda. Item 5 is an application for the grant of a short-term licence for 27 Woodcote Court, Stonehaven, Aberdeenshire.
Sorry, but I should invite back your councillors that have left.
Oh, well, yes, I thought that
Yeah,
really people would be doing that. Michael would be doing that anyway. But yeah,
they're just getting called right now.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, we have before us item 5, an application for the grant of a short-term let licence in respect of a home let. So we have the applicants and we have 2 objectors, I believe. So Michael, I'll stop here and ask you to call them in, please.
Sorry, just to clarify, Chair, would you like the objectors called in first or the applicants?
I think we have everybody, do we not?
We don't have the applicants yet. Would you like me to call the applicants in first?
Yes, please. We have to have everybody at the table before we proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Calling the first applicant. And now the second.
Hello.
Hello, is that Mrs. Marshall?
Yes. Hi
Yes.
there.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anne Stirling. I chair the licensing subcommittee. We're just bringing people into the call now. So if you could just hold hold on. We'll make sure everybody's in the call before we start the application process.
Lovely, thank you.
Perfect.
Oh, is that
Thank
Mr.
you.
Marshall? Yeah.
Thanks, Alfie.
Okay, that's everyone in the call, Councillor Sterling.
Okay, do we have Ms. McAlpine and Smith?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Helen Smith.
Yes, and do we have Alexis McAlpine? Ms. McAlpine, do we have you? Can you hear us? Michael, can you?
I'm gonna try to call again. 2 moments.
Thank you. And Judith and David Marshall, you're with us too.
Indeed.
Yes, that's fine. It's just we just want to make sure everybody's here before we start the process.
Perfect.
So it's immediately declined, unfortunately, Chair.
It's declined.
Yeah,
Okay.
for Alexis.
Okay. So we can, and you maybe just give one more shot then, Michael, just to make
Of
sure,
course.
please. Give everybody the opportunity.
Just immediately declines again.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. So we'll proceed then. We've got Judith and David Marshall on the call as the applicants, and we've got Helen Smith, who has lodged an objection. So welcome to this meeting of the Licence Subcommittee. As I say, I'm Councillor Anne Stirling, a chair. I have in the call with me a number of councillor colleagues who are members of the Licensing Subcommittee, and also officers from our legal service and legal and governance service, and we have environmental health and planning officers on the call also. So we will go through the report, and I'll ask our legal officer, please, Ms. Stevenson, if you would introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the report before you relates to an application for a short-term let, which has attracted objections from members of the public and therefore requires the committee to determine the application. As a preliminary matter, the subcommittee are required to determine whether the objections are competent and relevant to the application. And thereafter, if the objections or parts of the objections are held to be competent and relevant, the subcommittee should then proceed to the hearing of the application. If, however, the objections are found to be not competent or relevant, the application can be granted. Information as to the objections is contained within paragraphs 3.7 to 3.9 of the report, and the objections are attached as Appendix 2. Officers can and would offer the following advice. In relation to the issues of competency, all objections were received timelessly, in writing, specified grounds, contained the name and address of the objector, and were signed. So it's the officer's advice that all of the objections meet the grounds of competency. Turning to the issue of relevancy, officers would offer the following advice. The issues raised in connection with the display of the site notice have now been rectified or were rectified. Concerns raised in relation to restrictions in title deeds, communal maintenance fees, planning policy and precedent, and parking issues are not relevant to the legal test and cannot be considered by the licensing authority in their determination of the application. Issues raised in relation to the suitability of the premises for the conduct of the activity, having regard to the location, character, or condition of the premises, are potentially relevant to the legal test. And concerns relating to antisocial behaviour, noise, nuisance, public order, or public safety are potentially relevant to the legal test. And finally, concerns relating to the applicant's inability to secure compliance with the mandatory licence conditions, the standard conditions, and any further conditions are potentially relevant to the legal test. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions as we work our way through the application.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any questions at all on the process or what Mrs. Stevenson has just introduced before we move to the objections themselves?
No,
no questions. Okay, this is.
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry. I've got one query.
No, sorry. Is that Mr. Marshall?
It is.
Yeah, we're going to go through a matter for the committee members at this point. So
Okay.
we have to determine whether the objections are relevant or not. And then we'll move to a process whereby you will be able to speak to committee in support of
Super,
your
thank you.
application. Okay.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, so I'll bring you in at the appropriate time. So, okay, colleagues, have you've no questions on the process that you've heard outlined or on the matters outlined? Okay, so we'll turn then to determine whether or not the objections are relevant. We've heard that they are competent, so if we go to 3.9 in your paper, I'm just going to go through each objection. So we have an objection from Alexis McAlpine. We've heard that A, under that objection, is not relevant and can't be discussed. So, but the potentially relevant objections relate to noise and nuisance and safety and security. Are you content to accept that? Yes? Yep. Okay, I'll take silence as an acceptance, but if anybody has any issues, please indicate. So those are agreed. Objection from Leslie Fraser. We've heard that this matter cannot be addressed and should be not deemed relevant. Okay. C, the objection from Helen Smith. We have A and B that are potentially relevant in relation to security and nuisance. Otherwise, the other two objections are not deemed relevant. Is that agreed? Let's see, I'll take silence as an agreement. Objection from John Henry. Again, A and D are deemed not to be relevant, and the issues relating to security and nuisance are potentially relevant. You agreed?
Yeah.
That's agreed. The objection from Libby McFall under item A has been rectified in as much as the site notice was not displayed correctly initially, and that has been rectified. The objection from Margaret Walker, A and C are not relevant, whereas the issue relating to security is potentially relevant. Agreed? The objection from Peter Briggs, again, A and D are not deemed to be relevant, and we can consider issues relating to noise and nuisance and location, character or condition of the premises, which are both potentially relevant. That's agreed. An objection from Robin Hepburn. Issues relating to noise and nuisance and antisocial behaviour are potentially relevant, as are location, character or condition of premises. So they were all deemed potentially relevant, whereas the item C under Mr. Hepburn's objection is not. We have objection from Cy Harris. Again, issues relating to location, character or condition of the premises are deemed to be potentially relevant. Members content that those are the matters that we consider?
Okay.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, thank you very much. So having dealt with the preliminary matter, we can then continue to go through the hearing. Is that correct, Mr. Stevenson?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So in that case then, I'm going to invite the applicants and objector in order to speak, but I will guide you through the process, and we first of all would like you to, if Mr. and Mrs. Marshall could first of all identify yourselves and just state your names, please.
Hello, my name's Judith Marshall.
Morning, my name's David Marshall.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, just for the record, Miss Smith, could you just state your name, please?
Yes, my name is Helen Smith.
Thank you very much. We've dealt with preliminary matters. Therefore, I'm going to ask Mr. and Mrs. Marshall if you would like to speak to your application, please, and Please give us as much information as you think is relevant to the application before us. It's no time limit, so if you'd just like to speak to committee now, please, we'll hear from you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'll start, Judith, and you can add if you wish. So we bought the property earlier this year with the intentions to, redeveloping the property. The property had been owned by an elderly lady, I believe, and it was in good condition, but it needed to be upgraded, new bathroom, new kitchen, fully decorated throughout, which we have done. We did that over the course of 3 months, and we've actually done it to a very high standard, and I think Gordon's report will reflect that. So we've invested a lot into the property, with the intention that we would rent the property out, either long-term let or Airbnb. We've always made that clear. Anybody, when we were doing the works in the property, anybody that we met, and we spoke about the property with, we were always very open and honest, and made it clear what our intentions were. As I said, we've invested a lot of money into the property to a very high standard. So, whilst I appreciate the objections that have come in, I'd also say it's in our interest as well. We've invested in the property, and it's in our interest that we want to ensure that the quality of the property doesn't drop. We don't want there to be any issues with our neighbours in the block or out with the block. So we will do everything within our power to ensure that happens. And if there are any issues, then we'll deal with them at the time and we'll reconsider our position. But we're not going out our way to antagonise anybody. As I said, we've been very open about our intentions with the property. And as I said, we're not, we don't want any issues or any difficulties in the process of doing this. I don't really know what more to say, really. As I said, I appreciate some of the objections have been put in. And for that reason, we would go out our way to ensure that didn't happen. There's very clear rules and guidelines around Airbnb and properties, and they support that. Airbnb themselves support that there's no nuisance to people within the vicinity. So I'd just like to say that we're looking for this license to progress, and Judith and I will both do everything in our power to ensure that there's no issues as the objections would suggest.
I'll just chip in a bit as well. I mean, we both stay in Stonehaven, and anybody, we're quite reputable characters. I'd be happy to show anybody the flat to see, so they can see how we've done it up. For the Airbnb, I would certainly be meeting the people that were going into the property. We stay in Stonehaven. If there was any issues, I'd be quite happy for, to get in touch with me as soon as possible if there were any issues. And I would also like to reiterate, the last thing we want to do is cause anybody living in the building any problems. One of the reasons that we decided we would like to do the short-term let is for that very reason, because if you put somebody in longer term and they're not suitable and causing neighbours problems, then it's quite difficult to get these people out. So that was another consideration when we were looking at what was the best option. And the last thing we want to do is cause anybody any problems.
Okay, just another opportunity. Is there anything else you want to add, or we'll move on?
On the security side, I would like to say 9 times out of 10 when I go to the property, the outside door isn't actually locked. So I think if we want to talk about security, maybe we need to, address that within the building first of all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Marshall, are you happy?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, the rules of using Airbnbs are very clear. And as I said, Airbnb themselves go out their way to ensure that there's no nuisance caused. And as you just said, we like to think we're fairly reputable people, and we would do our utmost to ensure that as well. And as I said, Judith said, the way in which we would work it would be that the people using the property would be met by Judith and given entry, through ourselves directly.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I'll move then to Ms. Smith. So it is your opportunity now to speak to your objections and give us as much information as you think is relevant in terms of your position. So I'll just hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much. I think when it comes to location and character, we're in quite a quiet area here. It's a listed building where number 27 is. And I think that has to be taken into consideration. The noise and nuisance value, I think that when you have Airbnb, you don't know really who these people are that are coming in, and they can make a noise, and I'm not sure that the owner can do anything about the noise level when it actually happens. The security, I take on board what you're saying about sometimes the outside door is not locked. That shouldn't actually happen. But there's two doors you've got to go through. You've got the main door and then you've got your flat doors. The outside door should always be locked. But when you've got people coming in and out that you don't know who they are, you don't know if they're workmen coming in or if they're actually living in the property, I think it has a concern for a lot of the residents in the flat. What other things did I have down? If there's any damage done by the Airbnb people, I would like to know who's going to be responsible in shared areas for any damage that's created. Because if people just disappear off the scene, any damage is actually down to the owner, the residents within the block. So we all have to pay out money for shared area damage that's done. So I would like some assurance on that. Yeah, I think that's about it, really. It's just the coming and going of different people 2 or 3 times a week, possibly, if it's Airbnb. And I'm not sure how much control Mr. and Mrs. Marshall can have over that.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's nothing else you want to add at this point?
No, I think that's it at this point.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, you've got the opportunity now to respond to what you've heard by way of objection.
For me, I think we've covered it in our opportunity to speak. I mean, as I said before, I understand that there could be, multiple people coming and going, but as we said before, we're taking I say precaution, we're taking the precaution that anybody that would be using the flat would be met directly by either Judith or myself for the key handover. And that's obviously an opportunity for us to meet the people. There's a limitation, on how many people can use the Airbnb. It's a 1-bedroom flat, so there's a limitation on that. I agree that, once we hand the keys over, we can't, necessarily control that. But, you could say that the same, if we long-term rent it, we could rent it to somebody and they could have multiple people coming in and out every day, all day as well, So it's I don't think it's just short-term license issue, then, you know, that would be an issue regardless of what we do with the flat, I would suggest.
Okay, are you content then that you've responded fully?
Unless the lady would like me to clarify anything else, then yes.
No, I think you have, as I say, it would be up to yourself to respond to what you've heard. So
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move then to the members of the subcommittee who may have questions for, oh, sorry, Mrs. Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered whether it might be an appropriate time to hear from Environmental Health, given that this is effectively their service application. They may be able to provide some further information before we move into discussion. So it's a matter for yourself. I'm just conscious that we haven't heard from them.
No, I was conscious of that too. I was going to take questions from members, and then I'll move to Environmental Health if that's appropriate.
No problem. Thank
I'll
you.
take the members' questions to the applicant and the objector first of all. Thank you. Councillor Crowson, Jeff, please.
Thanks, Chair. Something I actually need cleared up from legal first, if that's okay. And I'm not
Yes.
going over the same old ground as we have in previous applications. But when it comes to conditions that was in title deeds that we spoke about is not a consideration for us to take into consideration. I just wanted legal to clarify if insurance for a property would be invalid because of restrictions in title deeds, and if so, where do we stand if we do grant a license knowing that our mandatory conditions couldn't be met? If that makes sense.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Chair. Insofar, Councillor Crowson, insofar as insurance conditions are concerned, that's not something I can comment on. That would be a matter for the applicant if the license were granted to clarify with their insurers. So that's not a matter for consideration by members today because it doesn't fall into licensing. Although I do understand that Environmental Health would also require sight of insurance, so it's something they would be checking anyway.
I think I've already provided that. Sorry.
Sorry, who's this?
Oh, sorry, it's Judith Marshall.
No, sorry, no, sorry, Mrs. Marshall. Can you just wait, please, and we'll come back to you. Got legal officer at the minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So insofar as insurance is concerned, yes, insurance is checked by Environmental Health, but whether or not there is an impact on the insurance because of title conditions, that would be a matter for the applicant to clarify with their insurer. It's not a licensing matter. And forgive me, Councillor Crowson, but I've now completely forgotten the second part of your question. Could you repeat that for me?
I just wanted to check that because it is a mandatory condition that there is insurance, and I just wanted to check that because if we'd had knowledge that if that insurance could possibly be invalid, then where do we stand if we grant a license knowing that a condition couldn't be met?
I am going to defer to
Environmental
Health because I can see that Shirley has her hand up and I think she's in a better place to answer that for me.
Okay, thank you. Shirley, please, welcome.
Yeah. Hi, I can just confirm that yes, as part of the process, the applicants do need to provide evidence of not only buildings insurance, but also public liability insurance. And as part of the mandatory licensing conditions, that's the only two aspects of insurance that we would be asking for clarity on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please, for either the applicant or the objector? Shirley, do you want to come back? No. Okay. Members, do you have any questions for the applicant or objector, please? No questions for either party.
The insurance.
No, sorry, Mrs. Marshall. No,
it's
please.
Helen Smith.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
It was Helen
sorry.
Smith.
Sorry, Miss Smith. Can you just wait, please? I'll try and get members to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Menard, Richard, please.
Yes, for the applicants, have you put any noise mitigation protocols in place with regards to the building itself and the work that you've done inside?
Mr. or Mrs. Marshall?
In terms of what noise mitigation would you expect us to do? It's a top floor flat within a Victorian stone built property. We haven't added any additional insulation because we didn't take walls down. The property is fully carpeted, so it's not laminate flooring or anything like that. So there'll be little noise transfer through the floor coverings. We haven't done anything specifically to dampen noise down, other than, as I said, it's fully carpeted throughout with underlay, and so there certainly won't be any noise transference through the floors and general use of the property.
That's okay, thank you.
So can I ask Mr. and Mrs. Marshall then, do you have packs for your guests in terms of guidance and or any standards that you would wish to have in place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a prerequisite. It's a prerequisite. You have to have that in place as part of the terms of the Airbnb agreement. So we have to have that in place in terms of the expectations. It's also set out in the contracts that Airbnb put in place for both ourselves and the people using the property. And of course, we have other, in terms of sort of health and safety side of things, there's packs that'll be put in place there, fire blankets, extinguishers and the likes will be in the property as well.
Yep, thank you for that clarification. I don't see any other indications, colleagues, so if you're content, I will move to hear from Mr. McWilliam before we deliberate. Okay, Mr. McWilliam, please, would you like to comment on the application?
Yes, the application was received by Mr. and Mrs. Marshall on the 22nd of April of this year for a secondary let for a one-bedroom property with a maximum occupancy for 2 persons. All documentation was received and was verified by myself and was granted to be deemed fair. The consultees were consulted and they came back with no objections to the property at all. As I said, as was said earlier, there was an issue with the notice being displayed, which was rectified immediately by the applicants and was deemed satisfactory.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, any questions for Mr. McWilliam? No. No questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Crossan, Jeff, please. No, you're fine.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I want to go back to the documentation. When the documentation is checked for insurance policies, is it just the cover of the insurance policy that's looked at, or is all the small fine print of the cover the insurance policy checked over?
The policy is checked to ensure that there's public liability cover of at least 2 million and there is building contents as well. Is that correct, Shirley?
Yeah, I'll just come in to confirm that the only requirements under the short-term licensing regime is that there's sufficient buildings insurance in place and also public liability to a minimum of 2 million. That is thoroughly checked along with the applicant's details, the address of the property, the type of cover, the start date and expiry date of the insurance policy.
And what about any conditions that might be the insurance policy that would invalidate?
That's not for environmental check. The only two parts that we can actually take into account as part of the licensing scheme required by the Scottish Government are buildings insurance and public liability to a minimum of 2 million.
Okay, Councillor Crossan?
Yes,
that's clear. Yeah. That's fine, thank you. So thank you for that, and I'm going to go back to sum up, please, and ask Ms. Smith if you would like to make your concluding remarks, please. If you could not introduce anything new, that would be helpful, but you've got the opportunity now to sum up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would only be repeating what I've said already. The only thing regarding the insurance is that the factor, the insurance for the building is covered by the factoring company. So that would need to be checked out. I don't know about the letting for the insurance with them, through them.
I
But
presume
that's
that's,
all.
yep, that's
Yep.
fine. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, you've got the opportunity now to sum up, please.
No, I would just like to, give out, we've said everything that we can say to reassure people, and we certainly don't want to cause anybody any, undue hassle in the building, and we would do our utmost to make sure that it was run, really well, meeting people and just doing all that we could to make sure that it didn't cause any hassle.
Okay, thank you all very much indeed. That concludes the opportunity for you to speak to committee. It may be that members have further questions as we go through, but I'm now going to go to the part where members can deliberate and ask for legal advice if required. We can recess if you would wish, but this is the opportunity now to deliberate. Councillor Gifford.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Before we get to that, questions just to come to mind based on what was just said there about the factor for the building. Maybe Ms. Smith can enlighten us. Does the factor get involved in any issues within the flats, or is it purely about maintenance and such things like that?
It's purely about maintenance and insurance that the factoring company take on. The garden, keeping that in good condition.
Right.
Maintenance building.
Yeah. So on the building as a whole rather than individual properties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, members, do you wish to take a recess for legal advice at all? I don't see any indications. So, are you able to confirm then that you've got enough evidence before you upon which to make a decision? I take silence as a yes. In that case then, I'd be looking to hear from members in terms of deliberation and decision. Can we have an indication, please? Councillor Cox.
If it's appropriate, kind of happy. So are you looking for someone to?
Yeah, this is where we come to a conclusion. So if you have anything you want to say in support of a position, this is the opportunity for you to do that.
Well, I would be supporting the application. That's appropriate, Chair.
Okay, is that a motion, or do you want to hear from others? A motion, okay. So we have a motion to grant the application. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Ewanson, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'd be happy. Yeah.
So you're happy to second?
Yeah, just based on
application?
the suitability of the premises.
I think we're probably going to need more in terms of justification for a motion to grant. Is that what you're going to ask, Mrs. Stevenson?
Well, yes, but also just to take the opportunity just to remind members that an application is granted when the objectors have failed to meet the legal test, so things are slightly turned on its head. So any motion would be a grant due to the failure by the objectors to meet the criteria of the legal test, rather than, so it's negative rather than positive. I'm sure
Well-
members know that, but it's just when we're wording the motion. we
And
can keep that
that's
in mind.
why I was asking that, or suggesting we might need further justification.
Little bit more reason.
Councillor Cox, do you want to add?
Yeah, yes, I think the objector's comments have been addressed by officers of the council, environmental health and legal services. So that's the basis of my motion to support the application, that all matters have been dealt with, the questions have been adequately addressed in terms of all legal requirements, health and safety, and noise disturbance. Is that sufficient, Chair?
I think that would be the justification you're looking for, Mrs. Stevenson. Yes, I'm getting nods, Councillor Cox, so legal officers would be content with that. Councillor, thank you for that. Councillor Ewanson, are you content to second on that basis?
Yes, I'm content to second. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have an amendment, please? I see no indications for any amendment. So is that decision unanimous? I take that as unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. So, Mrs. Stevenson, could you confirm, please, the decision that's just been taken by committee?
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Marshall. Your application has been granted for a period of 3 years. You'll receive written notification of this decision within 7 days. You do, if you were to wish, have a right of appeal to the Sheriff Court within 28 days, but in absence of any appeal, your licence will be issued to you in 28 days' time. Thank you.
Can I thank all parties for your attendance and indeed for speaking to committee. I do appreciate the fact that you've taken time out to attend to speak to us today. So thank you all very much indeed. And that concludes that item of business. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Just make sure everyone's off the call, please, Michael.
Yep, that's everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that concludes the public business for today. We'll go on, we'll take a short break, but we'll go on to consider the rest of the agenda in private. So thank you very much indeed for your interest in the business, and we'll now conclude and stop the recording. Thank you very much.